Hello kids, Patrick Livingstone of EasyAnimalsToDraw.com, and today we're going to be drawing this animal. French Bulldog. The French Bulldog started off in England as a miniature version of the British Bulldog, but that's another story and we might get to that a little bit later. We're starting by dotting in the circle after having drawn 4 points to indicate its height and width. And once it's been dotted in, we can draw it in. As you can see, it's not a perfect circle, but it's near enough. We draw a second circle, not quite as big, and touching for the hindquarters of the French Bulldog. Now we move on to the circle for the head, which overlaps the circle for the shoulders and chest of the Bulldog. And we're going to further divide up the head circle with 2 more divisions. Oh, let's put the ears in first, shall we? There they go, 2 large triangles for the famous bat ears of the French Bulldog, which distinguishes it from the British Bulldog. And now we're subdividing, drawing 2 semicircles across the face to help guide. Now we're joining up the circle for the shoulders and the circle for the hindquarters. And the key thing here is that the size of the circles and the position of the circles in relationship to each other, if that's done correctly, we will have the correct proportions for the animal. Okay, now it's time to move on to the actual drawing. And using the lines across the head circle, we can position the eyes. And you'll notice the eyes have got both a pupil and a small white circle, which indicates a reflection of a light, which tells us that the eye of the dog is shiny, a wet, shiny eye. Now the story of the French Bulldog is quite interesting. The lace makers of Nottingham in England kept a miniature version of the Bulldog as pets, and when things weren't going so well in the lace industry in England, they moved to the north of France. And they took with them their little toy British Bulldogs, and then in time the breed developed and the bat ears were developed, and the breed became a little bit different, as you can see, from the British Bulldog, and became known as a French Bulldog. They became quite famous in France. The artists Edgar Degas and Toulouse-Lautrec depicted the little French Bulldog in paintings of the Parisian demi-monde, which means essentially the section of society in Paris wasn't quite respectable. Demi-monde means half-world in French. Or rather, it means half-world in English, because demi-monde is the French word. Okay, so now we're drawing the neck of our French Bulldog down to the chest and the rear foreleg, back up to the famous bat's ears. You can see that in this case the ears are actually going to be drawn outside the triangles of the guide because they're so big. Now finishing off the head, I've already indicated the neck. Now little detail on the ears, some detail on the muzzle, and I think we've got a reasonable likeness of a French Bulldog there. Now the shoulders and the back, and an indication of the tail. We don't see very much of the tail in this drawing. And the finishing off the back front leg, an indication of the claws. And as usual, the leg overlaps the circle of the chest because the muscles that control the leg go well up into the chest and shoulder area. And now the forelegs elbow, so to speak, that bend at the back. It's the equivalent of a human elbow. Now to the hind legs. Quite strong, muscular hind legs. Typical of a bulldog. The legs aren't so different to the British Bulldog. Now the nearest of the rear hind legs, claws, and we're almost finished with the drawing. Getting to my favorite bit, where we get to rub out the drawing guide and take away the slightly mechanical look of the dog. Here we go. And as always, remember that it's inevitable that you're going to be rubbing out some of the drawing. Don't worry about it. There'll still be a little bit of a trace of the drawing that you simply go back over with the pencil and bring back, re-emphasize. It's all part of the process. This is a putty rubber I'm using, which is particularly gentle on the paper. You could almost say that it almost soaks up the graphite from the pencil. So now to restate the lines that have been removed while removing the drawing guide. And for me, this is where the magic happens, where we get our drawing of the bulldog, the French Bulldog, without any indication that we used a drawing guide to get here, to get to this point in the drawing. I think just is a little bit magical. There we go. Time for the shading, starting with the nose. Now you'll notice from the drawing on the top left, finished drawing, the area under the nose, even though it's a white bulldog, the area under the nose is a little bit darker than the rest of the face. So it'll get a little bit more shading. The French Bulldog became very popular in Paris. Particularly with Parisian cafe life. But by the end of the 19th century, French Bulldog's popularity had spread across from Europe to America. And it was in America that in the 1900s that it was decided that the bat ear look rather than the rose ear was the correct ear for the French Bulldog. So America has contributed the definition of the breed. Now just defining the inside of the ear. And when you want to get this light grey, this rather delicate touch, hold your pencil very softly, so that, because if you hold the pencil too hard, you'll end up getting a stronger line and then a lighter line and so on. The way to get the very soft line is to almost rest the pencil on the paper, using almost just the weight of the pencil. You can try this on a spare piece of paper. Experiment with holding the pencil in different ways and you'll see what I mean. Now it's a white bulldog, so all we have to do is very lightly indicate some of the wrinkles in the skin, some of the details in the ear. We don't have to actually shade in the bulldog entirely. We're just putting in detail. As you can see from the drawing on the top left, the back is going to be a little darker. The body of the dog is going to be a little bit more shaded. We're just trying to give a feeling of roundness and form. By shading in the back a little bit more, it gives a feeling of bulk and strength to the chest and shoulder area. Just indicating some of the muscles underneath the chest. Now some of the muscles in the neck. This is very, like the British Bulldog, it's a very, very strong dog. Now to keep this area a light, soft grey, it's important that we hold the pencil very softly. I don't know where I went there. Disappeared off. Possibly to increase the length of the lead in the pencil. As it's a mechanical pencil. I think that's what they're called, mechanical pencils. You may have another name. Again, the shading is indicating the muscles in the front leg, which will give our French Bulldog will show the strength in its legs. It's this indication of the muscles that give the feeling that the animal has got power in its body and its legs. Apparently the French Bulldog doesn't do a lot of barking, but at the same time they're very alert, and so they make excellent guard dogs. So this is what I was mentioning. This is what I was mentioning earlier. By darkening this area of the dog, it emphasizes the strength of the chest and shoulders. And if you want to get an even softer look to this pale grey area, you can simply rub it with the tip of your finger, and it'll spread the graphite from the pencil a little bit more and give you a softer look. And once you've got the graphite on the tip of your finger, you can use your finger as a tool and just rub it in between the paws of the front legs and the paws of the hind legs, and you get a very nice soft shadow effect. You can experiment with that as well on a piece of blank paper before you actually try it on your drawing. But you can't go too far wrong, because if you feel you haven't done it very well, just take a rubber and remove it and try again. That's the beauty of pencil drawing. You can relax because you can always rectify any mistake with the rubber. But you should be aiming to, as you practice and as you do more and more drawing, you should be aiming to be using your eyes and judgment to get it right more often than you get it wrong. And in time you'll find yourself using the rubber less and less often, except for taking away the drawing guide, of course. I think this is starting to look like quite a reasonable French Bulldog. So if you'd like to download a free PDF of to help as a drawing guide to help you begin your drawing, go over to easyanimals2draw.com. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell to get notifications. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it.